guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Debbie and I love sharing tips on how to save time and money. So one of my favorite areas to save money is on our grocery bill. And the biggest tool that I use to be able to do that is my freezer. Because by knowing how to properly freeze things, even things you wouldn't even think of, it really helps you stretch your groceries, and which of course saves you money. And by knowing what you have on hand, it saves you time, because that way you can pull out what you need, make a great recipe, and use up every ounce of food that you have. Now, I've let my freezer slip just a little bit. So come with me. I want to clean up my freezer and reorganize it and share these tips along the way so that you can save money on your groceries as well. And if you like these types of videos, don't forget to subscribe. Anyway, let's go. Look how messy my freezer is. It looks a little organized, but I honestly don't know everything that I have in here, which of course I need to in order to save money. This is a ham bone from a ham that I made earlier this week, and I wanted to freeze it because I wanted to see what I could make with it. Do you guys have any suggestions on what you guys make with ham bones? If you do, please leave it in the comment section down below. This is my veggie scrap bag, and what I like to do is anytime I'm cutting up any vegetable, except for broccoli and cauliflower, because those stems seem to be really bitter, but anything else, garlic, carrots, onions, I have asparagus in here, green beans, any vegetable scraps at all, you can place it in a bag and put it in the freezer, and then when the bag is full, which this one just about is, I put it in my crock pot and fill it up with water, and I make vegetable stock. These are empty bags that I've used in the past in the freezer, and I need to find a place to put them because I definitely want to rewash them and use them again. So I'm going to take this and find a place for it. These are the ends of bread that the kids never want to eat, and before I ever let anything go bad, I put it in the freezer and then I make my own breadcrumbs. So I guess I have a few here, and so I'm going to take them and I'll show you how I make my breadcrumbs in the food processor. And this is a bag of spinach juice. I actually had 2 bags of organic spinach, and when I boiled them, this is the juice that came from it, and it's so nutritious. I can add it to a smoothie or use it up in a recipe, and the kids will have no idea. So I'm gonna take these and put these aside too. When I have a lot of herbs and I don't end up using them, I take them and I wrap them up really tightly in small bundles, and I put them then in a freezer bag and put it in the freezer. And of course, with everything else, you have to make sure that you label it correctly. So this is organic parsley, and you can freeze it for a very long time. So I'm gonna put this aside too. Here's a trick I learned from a friend of mine who's a chef. Anytime you have any kind of cheese grinds, keep them and then put them on in any soups you're making or in any kind of cheese sauce, and it adds a little bit of flavor, and then all you do is take it out and then throw them out. And there's my first basket. And I need to definitely give my freezer a wipe down. I've got a little bit of crumbs everywhere. And here's another bread end. What's in this basket? Anytime I'm cutting up any kind of citrus, I like to take the ends and freeze them because I can use them on my cutting board. Have you ever had a wooden cutting board that after you cut up some garlic and onions, no matter how many times you wash it, you can't get that smell out? Well, what you can do is take some coarse salt and some of these grinds, and you put the salt on the wet wooden board, and then you take these ends of any citrus that you have and you rub it, and it gets the smell right out. So I think I have too much on hand right now. I'm gonna see what I can do with these, but these will definitely come in handy because I use my wooden cutting board all the time. Here's another tip that'll help you save a lot of money. Have you ever had just a little bit of leftovers, not enough to make a meal, but maybe something that you can set aside and later on you can use as lunch? Well, that's what I did here. This is ground chicken with zucchini that I made, and then I froze it in this vacuum seal bag. And now anytime I'm making rice or I'm making something for myself, I can take this and I can defrost it and I can have myself a nice lunch. Bagged beans are a lot less expensive, and you can buy them in bulk, especially when they're on sale, and they're a lot less expensive than canned beans. So what I do is anytime I have a bag and I want to use a little bit of it, I put the whole bag after I rinse it in the crock pot with some water, and I make the whole bag, and then I take it and I portion it out and vacuum seal it, and now I have these cooked kidney beans anytime I want. These are some zucchini that I had that were about to go bad in the fridge. And of course, you never want to let anything go bad, because not only is it a waste of food, but it's also a waste of money. And so what I did is I steamed them, and then I cut them up and put them in this freezer bag. And then now whenever I want to add them to any recipe to bump up the health factor, I can just add them in because they're cooked. It's just a matter of defrosting them and incorporating them into any recipe. And here's my second basket gone. Now on this side, I have all of my stocks. So I label everything, and whenever you're reusing any kind of container, which I love to do because that way it's less that you're throwing out, you want to make sure not to fill it completely to the top. So as you can see here, this veggie stock that I made, I filled it up to here to allow the extra room, because when things freeze, they expand, and you don't want this broken in your freezer. So I have a veggie stock. I have a few, I think. This is chicken stock I just recently made. So I'm going to start taking these out. This is more chicken stock. This is actually fat that I freeze, because if you pour it down the drain, you can clog up your drains and it's really bad for your pipes. So I freeze it, and then whenever the garbage comes around, I put it in that day, so that way it doesn't stink up the garbage. Here's more veggie stock. And again, I didn't fill the container to the top. And you also want to make sure to portion it so that you can just take one out and defrost it, and that way you have enough for a recipe. So these 6 cups of veggie stock are going to be for a soup. And here's more chicken stock. Another bread end. I made some green salsa from scratch because I had some tomatillos, some jalapenos, and some cilantro and garlic. So I roasted everything and then made these jars. So next time I'm making chicken enchiladas, I have my salsa ready. And here's more. More fat. This is where I needed to organize my freezer. More bread ends. And the second bag of veggie scraps that I had no idea I had because it was all the way in the back. You might recall this from a previous grocery haul, but I had asked for 2 jalapeno peppers from Walmart, and instead they gave me, I think it was 8. So I cut them up and I laid them flat and I froze them, and now I've been adding them to recipes, and it's such a convenience because the last thing I like to do is to cut up any kind of hot pepper. Oh, what a surprise, more bread ends. A bag, I don't know what was in it. And I have a container that I couldn't fit here anymore, which was my first sign that I had to clean out my freezer. And it was a container that I got at the dollar store, and I'll show it to you in a minute. But that's where I kept all of the ice packs, because when you have kids, you need ice packs. And I'm gonna give these a good wash. And another cheese end. And another great tip is anytime that you buy fresh ginger, take a spoon and just scrape off a big piece at the end, because in that way you can cut it or you can grind it into any recipe, and then you use the spoon again to take off more of the peel, because the spoon gets into all of these wedges. And then you can put them in the freezer and they last forever. And a frozen banana. And now time to clean. Now in this back bin, I'm going to put all of the prepared foods so that they're easy for me to grab. Like the beans, the zucchini, and the ground chicken zucchini. And in the bin in the front, I'm gonna put every ingredient that I can add to a recipe. So for example, the spinach juice, the herbs, the ginger, and the cheese grinds. And I think in the back of this bin, I'm going to put my veggie scraps. I'm gonna have to rearrange this because it's not gonna fit. So I think I'm gonna take my ingredients and put them in the back as well. And in this bin, I'm gonna put my veggie scraps, and I'm gonna take the rest of the citrus and I'm gonna probably cut it in half because I don't use all of these as often as I get them, and then that way I'm saving valuable space in my freezer. There you go. I cook with so much citrus, I'm gonna be able to refill this bag anytime. And now I also have room in this bin for my breadcrumbs, which I'll show you in a minute. And now let me show you my bottom drawer. On this side, I have all the meats, and I go through this bin very often so I know exactly what I have, and I know that there's nothing in there that's been misplaced. And in this bin, I have all of the vegetables. But I do want to go through this one because, as you can tell, I have some breadcrumbs in this bin, and obviously it doesn't belong there. So I'm gonna empty out this side, and then I'm gonna give it a nice wipe down, and then start putting everything back to see how much room I have left. An empty bag. And look at this, some more bread. And this bag's open. That's great. There we go. Put a clip on it. That's much better. Some garbage. And another container of fat. Do you guys have these empanada discs in your freezer? These are such a great tool to have because any leftovers you have, especially when you don't have enough leftovers for lunch, you can defrost these and then put the leftovers inside with some cheese, and then you just use a fork to close it up after you folded it in half, and you put them in the oven, and they are delicious. The kids and my husband and I, we go crazy for these, and it's a great way to use up your leftovers, especially when you don't have enough of them. So I always have these on hand. And here's a bag that I had for chicken bones. Have you guys ever frozen your chicken bones? Sometimes when I'm tired after making a whole chicken and I don't have time to put it in the crock pot and make stock, I freeze the bones, and then that way later on when I do have time, I make the most delicious stock, which, as you can tell, I've made some because I have some right here. Some bacon, which belongs over here. Here are my frozen bananas, which I always freeze before they go bad, and then when I've frozen them, opened, and cut up into small pieces, I've made banana ice cream from it. But when I keep them whole like this, it's for banana bread. Do you guys freeze your bananas? Let me know in the comment section down below. Surprise, surprise, more bread. I bet you're wondering why I have a candle in the freezer. The best trick that I have for reusing these jars is to freeze it And then with a butter knife, you just scrape all the way around and you pop out the bottom, and then you wash it, and you can reuse these jars just like I do with my other ones in the freezer. They make a great jar for freezing any kind of liquid. And more bananas. And now I'm gonna start putting my veggies back so nothing goes bad. And my 1 container of fat, because tonight the garbage is going out, so I'm gonna get rid of the rest of those jars. And last but certainly not least, I'm gonna take out my meats, give it a good wipe down, and put them all right back so that everything stays nice and fresh in the freezer. Here's a great money saving tip. We got a gift card for Christmas from Omaha Steaks. So once we saw that the supermarkets now were running low on meats, we cashed in our gift certificate, as well as I got an online code for 30% off. And so we used that and we really took advantage of it, and we stocked up our freezer with these cuts of meat that you can see. These are great, and they're all really high quality. These are the rest of the burgers that we had. I already made, I think I cooked 6 of them already, and they were delicious. And this is what we have left of the chicken. And no, this is not a sponsored video. I wish it was. Omaha Steaks, call me. We love their products. And I'll show you a quick picture of the 2 crates that were dropped off at our doorstep. These had enough meats and chicken to last us about 6 weeks. And now it's time to load it back up. So excited to show you the end result. So these bins I got at Dollar Tree, and I love them. This one fits right here in the corner, and I use it for the kids' ice packs, especially for Emily because she's only 5. So anytime she needs it, she knows to pull it out and knows exactly where they are. These are all the recyclable containers that I have for all of my stocks. I decided to put these 2 items in this bin because I use them pretty often. One is my veggie scrap bag, and the other one are the citruses for my cutting board. And when I want to use the bin in the back, it's really easy to use because I can just take it out and then put it back in. And in this one, I decided to put all of the ingredients for any recipe that I need that I've already pre-made. And in this drawer, I have all of the vegetables that I need, my bananas that are frozen, my empanada discs, and the container of fat. And in this bin, I have all of the meats, and I decided to put the ham bone there too. That way we keep all of the meats together, and I can't wait to see what I can make with this and look at your comments because you guys come up with the best suggestions. And this is everything in my now organized freezer. So I'm so excited that my freezer is looking so great. But now I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with all of those bread ends. Now in my food processor, what I like to do is I like to add the bread, and then any kind of recipe that you're going to use fresh breadcrumbs for example, to bread chicken, or what I like to use it for is when I'm making burgers or meatballs or a meatloaf. So you want to think about ingredients that you're going to normally add to those recipes, and then you can add them to your breadcrumbs to flavor them, and that way it's less that you have to think about later on if you're breading chicken or doing any of those other recipes. So what I like to do is add some onion powder, some Italian seasonings, and some garlic powder to the breadcrumbs. So now that it's a little defrosted, I just break it up. And you don't want to fill your food processor because you don't want to strain it when it comes to making these breadcrumbs. So now I'm going to add a little bit of Italian seasoning. Some garlic powder. A little bit more. I like it. I like it garlicky. And some onion powder, just a little bit. This is probably the least one that I use. And now you just mix. I like to pulse it. And as you can see, look at the consistency of it. And when you freeze it in a freezer bag and you lay it flat, then they won't clump together and you can break off any piece that you like if you don't want to use up the whole bag. And it's that simple. Well, I hope you liked this video and found it helpful. If you did, please click the like button, share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe and to click on that bell. And also follow me on Instagram at the address above. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!